Morocco, the main source of resin in Europe. Cultivated in the Rif Mountains, from where the first North Africa to Europe smuggling operations took place. Mechanisms have changed, the route hasn't. But how do the drugs reach the UK? From Morocco to a beach in Spain, then land or sea to the UK. Just 10 miles of water separates Europe and Africa, equivalent to half the distance between Calais and Dover. Crossing the Strait of Gibraltar is the first stage for smugglers. I've travelled to Gibraltar. Are new diplomatic tensions with Spain over Brexit negotiations testing joint anti-smuggling operations at sea between Gibraltar and Spain? Police in Gibraltar have invited me to spend a few days with them. I joined their marine section, which operates 24/7. This police interceptor vessel is considered the fastest and most efficient craft in the Strait of Gibraltar. We move to a night patrol. It's not long before we're travelling at a high speed in choppy seas. It gets cold and windy. There's intelligence of smuggling vessels attempting to leave Moroccan waters fully loaded with cannabis. With only the lights from land and radar to guide officers, this operation needs professionalism and patience. It's a waiting game. A boat is spotted on the radar. It's time to spring into action. But it's not the boat they're looking for. This is a small Spanish vessel. The officers address them in Spanish. As the sun starts to rise, the smugglers have still not crossed. Not tonight, maybe tomorrow.
The route is very much established. It's the North African coast line with southern Europe, so it's the quickest crossing. A fast boat will only take 15 minutes to come across.
Gibraltar is a very important part of the architecture of control against drug trafficking. So geographically, we're at an important point. We are really the dividing line between north and south. And the Royal Gibraltar Police and Her Majesty's Customs in Gibraltar are constantly on the front line of stopping drugs getting into Europe. The cooperation between the Royal Gibraltar Police and the Customs with agencies like the drug enforcement agencies of the United States ensures that the intelligence is there to nab the material before it gets onto Europe's streets.
This is just one of the vessels seized by police in Gibraltar. It was built with only one aim: to ensure drug smugglers are successful. When fully loaded, it can carry more than 3 tons of cannabis resin. That means a street value of more than £15 million. Our team's been given exclusive access to a secure police store. We are shown the whole under strict conditions. The drugs will be held as evidence until investigations in these cases conclude. Then they'll be destroyed. The blue boxes contain £6.5 million worth of cocaine. The rest here is cannabis. There are 92 bales. Each weighs around 30 kilos, totaling just over 2.7 tons. That's a street value of £13.8 million. Since the start of the year, police in Gibraltar have foiled numerous smuggling attempts. Every success means drugs that don't make it to the streets of Europe. We're back at sea where officers are undergoing specialist training.
We do avoid, obviously, having to engage in necessary risks, but they don't follow those sorts of criterion scenarios, and that can lead to a detrimental effect. And the most worrying aspect is the loss of life. There's always that element of risk which we avoid at all costs.
This seized vessel is a reminder of the damage a collision can cause. Any minor mistake or a small distraction during a high-speed chase at sea can have catastrophic consequences. Training for units like this is essential. Safety is paramount. Operations out at sea can be complex and there's absolutely no room for error. Police officers have rules of engagement, drug smugglers don't. From training to a real chase, these four smugglers cover their faces to prevent being identified. Despite repeated calls from police, they fail to stop. Instead, they adopt dangerous evasive maneuvers. Training must kick in to avoid a collision. Police are closing in. Then, a dangerous twist.
Got your Bravo, we've got one in the water, within the bay.
A smuggler's apparently being pushed overboard. They know police will not let him drown. The chase continues briefly before authorities turn round to rescue him. He's arrested. The others get away. Just a few miles away, Spanish authorities are also battling this practically on a daily basis. They say they're understaffed and struggling to cope. That's why cooperation between both sides, despite the political differences, can play a key role in making a difference.
The sharing of intelligence between Gibraltar's law enforcement agencies and the law enforcement agencies of the world, and I include Spain, is not something that I would like to see suffer as a result of Brexit. Cooperation on intelligence in law enforcement is international, not just European.
I was very struck that I think it was back in January, there was a sizable seizure of cannabis by a joint operation between Spain and Gibraltar authorities. And that's exactly the kind of cooperation I'm talking about, practical, hard-headed cooperation which brings value to both sides.
That is going to continue because that has never been able to ascend to the official level because of the political dispute between the UK, Gibraltar and Spain. So therefore it's operating at a very human and real level, and I don't see Brexit affecting that. Look, coppers are coppers on the sides of every frontier, and they want to cooperate to ensure that the bad guys don't steal a march on them. That's not going to change because of Brexit.
Another example of cooperation. In broad daylight, Gibraltar police give chase to smugglers preparing for a crossing by stocking up on petrol. They get rid of canisters to lighten their load and pick up speed. Sometimes it's even drugs they jettison. Having been alerted, Spanish civil guards join the chase. Territorial waters is a sensitive political issue. Gibraltar and Spanish authorities will normally avoid chasing outside their jurisdictions, and the smugglers know this. Despite the numerous chases, only 17 people were arrested in the last year by Gibraltar police, just down from 23 a year earlier. And the amount of cannabis recovered by them has fallen by about 20% this year. Are police losing this battle?
God, they've been losing it for all my lifetime.
The authorities are still blindly pushing forward in this stupid, costly so-called war against their own citizens and citizens of the world.
We're here to disrupt them, we're here to make it hard for them, and we're here to let them know that Gibraltar will not tolerate criminality.
I wouldn't want to say that we are winning, but certainly we are contributing, Little Gibraltar is contributing significantly to that fight.
As we've seen smugglers operate at any time of day or night, they have no boundaries, no frontiers, just as widespread is the effect on drug users. At his home in London, Francis Morland leads a quiet life. He's returned to his passion as an artist. It's a far cry from his work in the 60s and 70s. He's believed to have been the first major cannabis smuggler in UK history. He was jailed 4 times, serving more than 15 years in total.
The drug smuggling, and particularly those days, was very addictive. It was so exciting. It was like living in a film. I would meet my Moroccan contacts, talk about price, work out the beach that would be used. And in those days, communication was the main problem. walkie-talkies were very limited in range, and the area where the drugs were produced was about, I should think, a 15-hour donkey journey down to the beaches. So there's a lot of nervousness and skullduggery that you had to travel down at night.
Did I do harm when I was smuggling drugs? I don't know. I mean, I did harm to myself, and I made drugs available that other people probably used to do harm to themselves as well.
It's a very old theory that's been much discredited, of the domino effect that, you know, soft drugs lead to hard drugs. There's no evidence to prove that.
But in the UK, at least 1 of every 4 addicts requesting treatment do so for cannabis use. This charity in central London works with families affected by addiction.
The effects that drive them to seek support might include primarily emotional, so people are very stressed, people can have anxiety, people can have depression, disturbed sleep, it can affect their relationships with their partner or other members of the family. People can get into financial problems.
Stephen was just 13 when he first tried cannabis. At 16 came cocaine. At a park in Gibraltar with his mother, he reflects on life as an addict and a remarkable journey to recovery. They have a strong relationship, a bond of trust that's needed work.
Living on the drugs was pretty much a nightmare. It started off very well. We had lots of fun at the beginning, I cannot lie about that. But eventually it just started taking over my life bit by bit, and without realizing you're just in this hole that's nearly impossible to get out. I thought it was impossible to get out, and it's just horrible, no? The things you end up doing, like stealing from your family, your brother, your mother, your stepfather.
During those years that you were taking drugs, what is it that you regret the most?
The things I regret the most is not spending enough time with my granny before she passed away.
Stevens transformed his life and challenges himself every day. He's now taking on the London Marathon. Running in memory of his late grandmother, it's going to test him at every level. The big day is full of emotions for the whole family.
This is just amazing. I mean, his journey, this year has been really a tough journey for him, and he's doing really well. Champion. He's already a champion in my eyes. For me, it's really, really emotional. I'm going to get emotional.
As Stephen goes past his family, he's in good spirits. But now he's only halfway and injured. Will he make it to the end? Stephen was just one victim. As his family awaits news at the marathon, emotions are high. Then the call they've been waiting for. Stevens crossed the finish line. When he reached a crossroads in life, he had a choice. He took the route to recovery.
I've had a really tough life. Not even my family knows still, but I've had guns on my head, I've had to stab people. It's a very dark place I was in. I'm overwhelmed by everything. It's the first time I finished anything in my life.